Good afternoon. My name's Harold Britton, and I am the acting U.S. Attorney in the case United States of America versus Christopher B. Epps and Cecil McCrory. Today we are announcing a major blow to the systemic and evasive corruption in our state government. And in doing so, we are hopefully restoring some of the public trust that has been so deeply violated. Today, Christopher Epps, the longest serving commissioner of the Mississippi Department of Correction in our state's history, and Cecil B. McCrory, a former Mississippi legislator, justice court judge, Rankin County School Board chairman, and local businessman, were arraigned on a 49-count indictment stemming from an almost decade-long scheme to violate the public trust of the citizens of the state of Mississippi for their own personal benefit and gain. MDOC, the Mississippi Department of Corrections, is one of the largest state agencies commanding a substantial portion of the state's budget. This crime is made even more offensive because of the respected position in state government that have been held by Mr. Epps for so long, and the multitude of positions in state and local government that Mr. McCrory once held. Let me be clear. Our office will vigorously prosecute public corruption with all the power and resources that the federal government and our state and local partners will bring to bear in order to punish those who would violate that sacred trust. Our tolerance for public corruption is zero. The indictment in this case alleges that beginning in 2007, Mr. McCrory and Mr. Epps began their long-term criminal partnership involving McCrory paying Epps and Epps using his office to reward McCrory's businesses. The official acts of Epps, which McCrory purchased, included Epps having MDOC award no-bid contracts to McCrory-affiliated companies, pressuring companies to hire McCrory as a consultant, and personally negotiating consulting fees for McCrory. Mr. Epps had Mr. McCrory to pay off his Flowood home. He also had Mr. McCrory to wire money to his loan that was being held on his Biloxi condominium. And later, he took the equity from that Biloxi condominium and used it along with cash bribes and wire transfers from Mr. McCrory to purchase a more expensive condo in Pass Christian. The government has placed a lien on and is seeking to forfeit Epps' home in Flowood, Mississippi, and his condominium in Pass Christian, Mississippi. The government is also seizing Epps' 2010 Mercedes-Benz S550 and his 2007 Mercedes-Benz S65, as well as almost $1 million in cash from various bank investment accounts controlled by Mr. Epps. I would be totally remiss if I did not take this opportunity to thank the hard-working men and women who investigated, analyzed, and organized this case before you today. From the U.S. Attorney's Office, I'd like to first introduce Mike Hurst, who is the leading prosecutor in this case, Scott Gilbert, who is also participating in the prosecution of this case, along with Deputy Criminal Chief Darren Lamarca, and our Criminal Chief, Carla Clark. Kim Mitchell also joins us. He's over here, a financial analyst in our office who worked tirelessly on this case. Next, I'd like to thank our great partners at the Federal Bureau of Investigation Jackson Field Office, led by Donald Alway, the special agent in charge. He's supported by Peter J. Klogstad, his assistant special agent in charge. Mr. Alway is going to speak to us, or to you, in a little while, so I'll allow him to introduce his people who are present here today. I'd also like to thank the Internal Revenue Service, their Criminal Investigations Unit. They are here today, and you will hear from their spokesperson. Further, I would like to thank as we were given instrumental assistance from the United States Postal Inspection Service and the Postal Inspector in Charge, Robert Weems, and Supervisory Special Agent Robert Kay, who is here with us today. Finally, this has been a model example of successful partnership among our federal, state, and local law enforcement in order to make this case or this prosecution possible. I want to personally thank State Auditor Stacy Pickering, his Director of Investigation, David Huggins, and his Deputy Director of Investigations, Carrie McDonald. I would also like to thank Greg Wagner, Sheriff of Lee County, for his substantial assistance in this case. In conclusion, I would like to again firmly emphasize that the United States Attorney's Office has zero tolerance for public corruption. We will muster all our time, energy, and resources to stamp out corruption from all forms of government in the state of Mississippi. We will not rest until justice is served. I must remind you that all criminal indictments are only charges and not evidence of guilt. The defendant is presumed to be innocent until and unless proven guilty. At this time, I would like to introduce one of our most valued partners in this case, FBI Special Agent in Charge, Don Alway.
Thank you, Harold. The investigation of corruption by public officials is extremely difficult due to its sensitive nature. I'd like to take the opportunity to recognize, as Harold mentioned, the folks that put this case together and really got us to where we are today. I'd specifically like to thank the FBI investigators as well as counterparts from the IRS, U.S. Postal Inspection Service, and the state investigators from the Mississippi State Auditor's Office. I'd like to especially thank Sheriff Greg Wagner from Lee County's Sheriff's Department for his substantial assistance in this investigation. As you know, public corruption is a breach of the public's trust by government officials, whether elected or appointed, who use their office for personal gain. Crimes of this nature do not affect just one person or one community. Public corruption is just that, a corruption that affects us all by undermining the trust that we give those officials. While examples cited below of bribery, extortion, embezzlement, kickbacks, money laundering may be a violation of federal or state law, it is a crime for any official to ask or receive anything of value in exchange for or because of an official act. Under federal law, a person who offers or pays a bribe or kickback is also guilty of a crime. The FBI has priorities that span both national security and criminal matters. We often hear of our terrorism and our counterintelligence responsibilities, but let me assure you that the FBI's role as a criminal or investigative agency places public corruption as our #1 priority in criminal enforcement. The indictments announced today are the result of a collaborative effort by the agencies represented here, as well as numerous other individuals that have helped bring these crimes to light. This case serves as an unfortunate example of how pervasive public corruption can be, considering the fact of someone who has achieved so much could succumb to the enticement of personal wealth. We're not concerned with the dollar amount, merely the matter that the public has entrusted that individual to perform a function for us, and that cannot be violated under any circumstances. Public corruption is often the result of whispered conversations sealed with handshake deals. So therefore it's very hard to prove, and we rely most often with the assistance of concerned citizens. So I would urge any individual with information about public corruption in any form, state, federal, or local, please come forward and contact the FBI. Citizens have a right to expect the highest level of integrity from all individuals who are sworn to uphold the law. Anything less cannot be tolerated. And again, again, I would like to thank you for this opportunity, and I would like to introduce the State Auditor of the State of Mississippi, Stacey Pickering.
Thank you all for being here. This is definitely a day that is a black eye upon our state, and day in and day out, I tell Mississippians our job at the Auditor's Office is to protect the reputation and integrity of this great state that we all love so well. Unfortunately, these two individuals today have betrayed that trust. They have failed in their responsibilities, and when it comes to the ultimate test of character and integrity on a personal level. I share with my children, as many of us do every day when they go off a carpool, who do you represent today? And their response is very simple. They say, my God, my family, and myself. Unfortunately, these two men have failed in that responsibility in their faith, their family, and to themselves individually, but most importantly, to the taxpayers of the state of Mississippi. Public corruption will not be tolerated at any level. And today's case is a textbook case and a prime example of local officials, state agencies and officials, and federal agencies and officials working hand in hand to protect the taxpayers of the state of Mississippi. It has been a tremendous effort together to protect this state's reputation. We began this case and received our first complaints at the Auditor's Office on our side of this investigation in the fall of 2011. And since that point, it has been a collaborative effort that has culminated in the arraignment that has taken place today. Again, to reiterate, these individuals have not been proven guilty to this point. They've simply been indicted and arraigned, and they will have their day in court to prove their innocence, if that is where this case leads. Thank you all so much again for being here, but most importantly, I want to thank our agents, our analysts, our men and women at the Auditor's Office, the FBI. Don, always your team has done a tremendous job, great partnership, teamwork, not just on this case, but in many cases that we've worked in conjunction and are working with your agents. As well as the next individual and his staff I want to introduce to you. Special Agent in Charge Gabe Garthy with the IRS. They have been a tremendous team partner in this investigation and others. And I want to thank you, Gabe, for the work your staff does.
I just have a very brief statement on behalf of IRS Criminal Investigation Division. Most importantly, I'd like to thank the Office of the United States Attorney, including First Assistant Britton, AUSA Hurst, everyone at the FBI, the Postal Inspection Service, and the Mississippi State Auditor's Office, who worked very hard in this very important public corruption investigation. I'd also like to thank the agents in my office who investigated very diligently the financial aspects of this case. This case included the investigation of a wide variety of criminal violations the IRS has jurisdiction over, including tax violations, money laundering, and structuring. The Criminal Investigation Division, the IRS ranks public corruption as a high priority and will continue to aggressively pursue these cases along with the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, and our other law enforcement partners. Thank you.
Now that concludes this press conference. Our purpose here this afternoon was to assure the public that these individuals will be held accountable if they are in fact found guilty of these offenses, to assure the public that they can have trust in the integrity of their government and those people who represent them. And if that integrity fails, that we will be here, and if we are able to, then we will prosecute them to the fullest. Now, if you have questions, I would like to refer you to Sheila Wilbanks. She is the U.S. Attorney's Office's Press Information Officer. We are not really going to be able to answer questions here this afternoon because of the stage of the prosecution that we are in. As I'm sure many of you are aware, when we're in this stage, the indictment stage, we're very limited in the kind of things that we can say. So thank you all very much, and I appreciate your attendance this afternoon.
Can you tell us whether this is the end of this investigation?
I'm sorry.
Can you tell us whether the other people...
Let me call you right back. I'm at a press conference. Bye.
I don't have any comment at this time.